tree might be too tall for you to climb. It might be too high. You know, you might fall down out that tree. If you fall down out the tree, some folk might trample over you. He didn't discuss his plan with a crowd who he knew would not be favorable to it, or he knew would have something negative to say about it. The kids wanted to see Jesus, so he did something to set himself apart. I'm going to tell you a secret. Right here in this text is the key to the mystery of how to get ahead in life. See, Zaccheaus got ahead of the crowd. Now, you want to get ahead in life, do like Zaccheaus did. You want a better position on your job, do like Zaccheaus did. You want to make a name for yourself? Because remember, later on, Jesus is going to call Zaccheaus what? By his name. You want to make a name for yourself? Do like Zaccheaus did. Separate yourself from the crowd. You're on the job and you want to get a raise, a promotion. Separate yourself from the crowd. You can't do the stuff that everybody else is doing on the job. If you want to be different, if you want to set yourself apart from the crowd, ain't nobody else in this passage climbing the tree. See? If you want to get noticed, you got to be different from the crowd. You want that raise, that promotion, that better job? Everybody else works 6.5 hours out of a 7-hour day. You work the full 7. Everybody else take 1.5 hours for lunch when they only do an hour. You take 55 minutes. Everybody else, when they don't have anything to do, sit around and do nothing, you find something to do. And I bet you will make a name for yourself and you will distance yourself from the crowd. Ladies, and spread this to all your female friends. You trying to find a man and a good man, separate yourself from the crowd. Do things different than other women are doing. Same thing, men. You trying to find yourself good one. Do things different than what other men are doing. Because you know what's interesting? Everybody recognizes what's different. Everybody notices what's different. Folk will remember the same thing. Everybody was wearing black. Folk didn't remember that. They remember one person was wearing white. So we got to be like Peter in every aspect of our life. 1 Peter chapter 2 and verse number 9. But ye are a chosen generation, a holy nation, a royal priesthood, a peculiar people, a different people. And when we're different people, we make a name for ourselves. And just like Jesus knew Zaccheaus by name and recognized Zaccheaus for being different, we're going to be recognized for being different. All right. So Zaccheaus made a name for himself. How do we know that? When Jesus reached the spot in verse number 5, he looked up and said to him, Zaccheaus, come down. Jesus ain't called nobody else's name in the crowd. Because nobody else in the crowd did anything to distinguish themselves from the crowd. Nobody else did anything different except push and shove. But Zaccheaus got ahead of the crowd and climbed a tree, and his unique act got Jesus' attention. I guarantee you, and I know it's true. Because I've done it when I was working. What everybody else was doing, I ain't want to do like they did. I'm trying to get ahead. I got to work early. Beat the boss in. Did what I was supposed to do when I got done. I said, I'm done, and I'm doing this now. Is this something I should be doing? And I got full attention. And you know, when my position in the office I was in was being dissolved, and I was working for an elected official who was not running for re-election, you know what the folks said in the office? My 2 supervisors? We got to find Johnny another job. Now, I didn't think they did that for everybody else. They told everybody else, well, you know, you can take some time off and look for a job. They said, we have to find him another place. And guess what? They found me another job. Why? Because something I did based on what I learned from Jesus. When Jesus said, if a man asks you to go 1 mile, go with him 2. I created a blessing for myself, and we create blessings for ourselves when we do things differently than everybody else does. All right. show you something else that's interesting. The type of tree that Zacchaeus climbed was a sycamore fig tree. And I thought that was interesting. Because the fig tree has some biblical import. Adam and Eve, after they fell from grace, went and got some fig leaves and sewed them together to try to cover up their shame. They tried to save themselves with a fig leaf. Zacchaeus, as a result of climbing the sycamore fig tree and coming into contact with Christ, not trying to hide from Christ. Zacchaeus didn't try to hide from Christ in the crowd, nor did he try to hide from Christ what he had done. Zacchaeus is being upfront and open with Jesus. And you have to be upfront and open with nobody else but the Lord. When we're trying to get it together, we ain't got to spell it out to anybody else, but we need to spell it out to the Lord. And Zacchaeus was being open, upright, and honest with the Lord, and guess what happened? Him being in that sycamore tree and that fig tree was a result of his salvation. But that's just an academic fact. I thought it might be something you all might want to hear about. All right. When Jesus reached the spot, he looked up and said to him, Zacchaeus, come down and meet me. And guess what Zacchaeus did? Some folk, when they hear Jesus calling them, they delay the response. They let things get in the way. But Jesus called Zacchaeus, and Zacchaeus came down immediately. And Jesus is still in the calling business. He's calling people today. He's calling people saying, I'm right here. I'm ready to help you get things in order. I know you're short on some things. Don't worry about what you're short on. Because I have a multitude of blessings. I've got all the resources there are. And I'm going to make you strong and tall in the areas where you're short. Just come down. Come to where I am is what Jesus is saying. Zacchaeus, come to where I am. Let's fellowship. Let's talk, Zacchaeus. I'm sure I can help you get it together. The Bible says, so he came down at once. Now this is a part that I think is real important. I touched on this a little bit last week. He says to Zacchaeus, I must stay. In order for me to help you to become converted, Zacchaeus, I got to stay. See, Zacchaeus, this can't be no fly-by-night thing. You know, Zacchaeus, and I hate to use this analogy, but I think it's appropriate. Zacchaeus, this can't be no one-night spiritual stand. You know, I can be with you today and gone tomorrow, Zacchaeus. He says, I must stay. You know what the word must means? Must is mandatory. It's not optional. Zacchaeus, you want to get tall? You want to get full? You want to get complete? You want to get whole? You want to change your life, Zacchaeus? Okay, Zacchaeus, but I must stay. I can't just be in your life today and gone tomorrow, Zacchaeus. I've got to stay with you, Zacchaeus. Why, Zacchaeus? Because all about me's got to rub off on you. You've got to learn about me, Zacchaeus. You've got to learn a new lifestyle. And in order for that to happen, Zacchaeus, I must stay with you. See, sometimes people want to have this relationship with Jesus, this overnight conversion, and Jesus be gone the next day. And that don't work real well. Because the conversion, it's a convincing and not a conversion. See, people can be convinced that Jesus is right. But that don't result always in conversion. In order for conversion to occur, Jesus must stay. He's got to be a part of our lives. He must stay with us at work. He must stay with us at home. Must stay with us when we're driving. Stay with us in the community. Stay with us when we're talking to our spouse. Stay with us when we're talking to neighbors. He's got to be with us 24/7. He says to Zacchaeus, I got to stay with you, Zacchaeus. He says to Zacchaeus, I must stay at your house. Now notice, Jesus and Zacchaeus are having a conversation. And after they have that conversation, Zacchaeus takes Jesus home with him. One of the things I think some church folk don't get in some churches is that after they leave church, they got to take Jesus home with them. It don't end at worship. Whenever we get out here today, whether it's 12 o'clock, 12:15, that's not the end of our conversation. That's not the end of our interaction. That's not the end of our association with Jesus. We got to take him home with us.